The owner branding Corden as a tiny cretin of a man and the most abusive customer in its history, while sharing two unflattering stories where he demanded free drinks for a hair in his food and when Corden screamed about messing up his wife's omelet. The ban, however, was lifted after Corden called to profusely apologize. Got to get the king of late night's views, but first, Piers, you know?
Why are you coming to the only Brit at the table? We're not all to blame.
Do you know him?
I do know him.
Does this story ring true?
He's a long-time friend of mine. He's actually, no, I was surprised. He's actually a good guy, James. He's a bit passionate, a bit fiery sometimes, but I've always liked him, and I was surprised to read it. Let's just be diplomatic. I was very pleased he rang and apologised to the restaurant owner and therefore got unbanned. I have to say, the most offensive thing of the whole story for me, though, was who orders an egg yolk omelette?
Yes,
with no whites?
What is that?
I've never heard that.
You've got to have the whites, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
racist.
So that I found genuinely offensive. I think it's one of those things. I was brought up by my parents to always be very polite to waiters, waiting staff, male and female, because they do long hours for often derisory money, and the least you can do is be respectful. So I just think there's a wider point. I've always distrusted people who are not nice to waiting staff.
Me too. And if you're ever dating one, bail.
Get out.
Okay. What do you think?
I'm just happy he's no longer gaining any weight.
No.
So that's good. He looks like he's eating these healthy omelets and stuff. But when you're a world-class celebrity, I'll give him some advice. You got to be careful, because a bad story about you travels much farther than a good story. So he's like, what's better than saying you slept with Jesse Waters? Saying you didn't.
Wow.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
I still don't understand it.
I don't get it either.
What just happened?
Judge.
You know, the amazing part of it is, why are you yelling at the waiter? The waiter didn't cook it. And the truth is that, you know, so many people, I mean, when I was younger, I waited for about, 2 weeks and got fired. But, all of us have done those kinds of jobs, and you really don't deserve to be yelled at for anything.
Hair is weird, though.
Hair?
Getting hair.
Send it back.
Yeah,
But it's not the waiter's fault. It's the cook's fault.
Yeah.
How do you know? It could be the waiter's hair.
You mean?
You got to check them. You got to have everybody come out who's touched the food,
Well, why
and you got to pluck the hair out.
Then have a lineup and figure out whose hair. All right, I got to you, Jesse.
I don't really have much, but I liked how Piers' excuse was kind of like when your next door neighbor is arrested for homicide, and you're like, he kept to himself, seemed like a nice guy.
Well done. Defend my fellow Brit.
Well done.
He's a friend, so it's difficult. But I think, look, the fact he rang and apologised means the story must be true.
You know what? This is what happens. It's when you show up on page 6. Everybody goes crazy, and it's like he thinks it's a national thing, but it's just in New York. Nobody really cares, and then he goes nuts.
So you're saying he shouldn't have apologized?
And he probably didn't think that anyone would ever know.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But you have to assume. Again, it gets back to delusion. Do you think there's not cameras everywhere or Instagram? And
That's why I had my wedding reception at Balthazar.
I have the menu right here.
You had your wedding reception at Balthazar, and the general manager at Balthazar said this guy was the rudest?